G'day viewers, welcome to the Thinking Man channel. Today I want to discuss with you the four-wheel drive that I chose for our trip around Australia, what modifications I made to it, why I done them, how I went about doing them myself, and what I think about this four-wheel drive and the setup that I built now that I've used it and travelled with it for 6 years. What would I keep, what would I change, and why would I change it? And so let's get into it, viewers, and let's start the video. So this is the four-wheel drive that I chose. It's a 2005 Mazda Bravo. It was an ex-Telstra vehicle, or for those who aren't in Australia, an ex-telecommunications vehicle. It has the telecommunications service body on the back. I looked around at all of the four-wheel drives, you know, the Toyota Land Cruisers, the Nissan Patrols, your twin cab utes, and I guess as far as the Patrols and the Land Cruisers were concerned, for me they were just too pricey. They were out of my budget, and they were too pricey for what you got. You know, a standard Land Cruiser, you'd be paying like, you know, $40,000-$50,000 more for a standard Land Cruiser with no add-ons, and then you've got to pay for all the add-ons. And the Patrol was pretty similar if you wanted to go for a 4.2 litre Patrol and not the 3 litre engine. The twin cabs, you know, they really didn't offer the functionality when it comes to, you know, being able to fit out the body that I wanted. And there's only my wife and I, so, you know, we didn't need a 7-seater in terms of the Land Cruiser and the Patrol. And so, you know, I sort of excluded the twin cabs for their functionality. I excluded the Patrol and the Land Cruiser just because of the price point and, you know, what you got for your money. And I'd seen these things on the road, and I'd always thought that they'd make a good camper because of the body, and the body's, you know, fitted out well with 12-volt power. And so I started looking around, and I found this one on auction, and so I bought it online, sight unseen. You know, I had a conversation with the people selling it, and they told me what it was, and I said, if it's not what it is, I'm sending it back, and they agreed to refund if I wasn't happy. So I bought it online. Cost me $14,000. It had done 140,000 kilometres, full service history, very well looked after. And when I turned up, they trucked it over into Victoria, Melbourne, Victoria, where I lived, and it was exactly what they said it was. So it was looked after very well. And then in turn, what I done was I gutted out the body, took all of the Telstra shelving. I took everything out back to just you know, plain walls, and then went about setting out the body, which we'll get to. So let's start at the front of the vehicle, and let's talk about what I added to the vehicle. So the first thing that I added to the vehicle was, you know, this ball bar and the winch down here. I had the ball bar, the winch fitted. I had a 2.5-inch lift kit fitted, which means new suspension all around, springs, raised it up about an extra 2 inches. And I had those things professionally fitted. They were the first things that I put on the vehicle, and at a cost of about $5,000. And at that point I thought to myself, if I'm going to get someone else to do all of this fit out, it's going to cost me, you know, an arm and a leg. So from that point I decided that I would do everything else myself, and you know, what I didn't know I would learn, and there was a lot that I didn't know and I had to learn. But I was adamant that I was going to do it because I wasn't going to fork out tens of thousands of dollars to fit out the truck that I just bought. And so, you know, after the bull bar and the lift kit, I started to fit out the body. And then what I done with the body once I'd gutted it is I lined the entire body with NASCAR insulation, the same insulation they use in NASCARs. I had it imported from Texas in America, and I lined the entire body with 2 layers of NASCAR insulation, and then I put a fascia, a whiteboard fascia over it to, you know, to give it a bit of cosmetic look, and behind the board is 2 layers of NASCAR insulation, and it keeps that body extremely cool. We've been up in the wet season in the Kimberley and Darwin numerous times, and the body in this car never gets hot, which means that our fridge never has to work very hard because the body's always cool. and so it's, it was well worth the money and the effort that I went to. But anyway, let's get back to the front of the vehicle and we'll work our way around the vehicle. So you have your bull bar and your winch, like I said, which I had fitted. The other things that I fitted to the front diff was a diff locker, an auto locker. Now I looked at e-lockers and I looked at air lockers, and I eventually chose the auto locker. Why did I choose the auto locker? Because I didn't want to have to worry about air, and I didn't want to have to worry about electrics. And then I thought to myself, who would use diff lockers more than anybody? And it was the Army that I come to that conclusion. And I thought, what do the Army use? And my research showed that they use auto lockers. And so the question then became, do I fit them to the front diff? Do I fit them to the back diff? And I talked to a mechanic that had previously worked on my other cars, and he belonged to a four-wheel drive club, and asked his opinion, and he said, look, your vehicle's got limited slip diff at the back. The front wheels always get to the destination before the rear wheels, so fit your diff locker to the front, and with the limited slip diff at the back, you'll be fine. So that's what I did. And like when I engage the hubs, if we go off road, and one of the front wheels loses traction, the auto lockers automatically lock in. You can just feel the steering wheel grab, and as soon as it gains traction, it lets go, and you don't have to do anything. And never have to worry about it. That's there. They work when they need to work, and then when they don't need to work, they let go. So it's a brilliant thing. They're a four-wheel drive system auto locker. I think they cost me around it cost me about $800 at the time to purchase them. And so I fitted those to the front diff. I also fitted heavy duty clutch to this vehicle because we were going to be towing a camper van. At the time we had a Goldstream Storm, the largest camper van that Goldstream make, the Storm off-road. So I put a heavy duty clutch in, and I put heavy duty brake pads all the way around. And I've changed the rear pads since we left Melbourne 6 years ago. I haven't yet changed the front ones, they're still good. And I've had no trouble whatsoever with the clutch, so fitting those things is well worth the money. So then if we come over and just have a look at the engine bay, and what you can see here is I've got a custom radiator right here. The original radiator, when I finished fitting at the truck and I took it for a test drive, the original radiator overheated within about 200 k's of home towing the camper van. And so when I got back, I researched different sorts of custom radiators, and this is made by PWR Radiators in the Gold Coast. They also make them for NASCARs and other sorts of things. So I sent them my original radiator. They made me a carbon copy of my original one in their design, and sent it back down to me, and I fitted it. The radiator was $1,000, and we've travelled all around Australia. We've been in the hottest parts of Australia numerous times, towing a van, and the temperature gauge doesn't move off of just above cold. So this radiator was well worth the money that I invested into buying it. They're fully aluminium, but what you've got to be careful of with these fully aluminium radiators, you must earth them properly. If you don't earth them, the electrolysis will eat the core out in a matter of a couple of months. So I've got an earth strap here, and you can see I've got an earth strap up there as well. So this is earth well. If you do that, you won't ever have a problem with it. This was one of the best investments that I made in the vehicle, because it's I've had no heating dramas whatsoever. Another thing that I fitted was this Finch fuel catalyst. Now Finch claim that it gives you cleaner fuel and better fuel economy. I put it on there more for the cleaner fuel, because as you get into the outback, some of the fuel can be contaminated. I believe it gives me a little bit better fuel economy, and I've had no problem whatsoever with fuel no matter where we've gone. So for the few $100 it cost me, I'd say it's $300 well worth spent. That took me maybe about half an hour to fit, quite easy to fit. And then I put in the high flow air filter and the snorkel, which gives this little engine a bit more power. So I've done that and put a 2.5 inch exhaust system on it. That gives us a little bit more power also. And also fitted central locking and 3-point immobiliser to the vehicle, so it can't be stolen, and the alarm system is hooked up to the body doors as well. fitted this light bar here, which has been, you got to have one of these. I mean, I've disconnected these two spotlights and I just use the light bar. That's much better. So let's work our way around the vehicle. You can see I've got the CSR rims on here, and the two rims up there on the roof are exactly the same tyre, same rims. I put the Cooper ST all-terrain tyres on them. The first lot of tyres I had last me 5 years, and I've only just recently changed them. And the two spares on the roof are the original tyres, still have plenty enough tread for spares. So I rotated them about every 7,000 kilometres every time I done a service. I rotate the tyres, got excellent wear out of them, and I never had so much as a puncture. So I do recommend the Cooper ST as a good reliable tyre. We come around here. I took off the little factory fitted mirrors, and I put these larger mirrors on. They're the same company that makes the factory fitted one. I just contacted them, told them what vehicle I had. I got the manufacturer's name off the back of the old mirror. Contacted them, told them what sort of mirror I had, and I wanted to upgrade it so it would fit the same post, and they sent me the larger version of the factory fitted one, and that worked. That works perfect. You can see I put the windshields on both windows and tinted the windows. I got these steel side steps from Wreckers. I paid $60 for two steel side steps, which are brilliant. None of that aluminium rubbish. You can knock these, they're not going to bend or buckle. So I hunted around for them for quite a while and found them in South Australia, bought them and had them shipped to me. Now if we come into the vehicle, I had this centre console custom made. There's a company in Sydney called Custom of the Interior, and they make consoles and door pockets and other sorts of things. So I had this custom floor console made, and I had this roof console made, and this roof console has got a pocket on the other side of this wall. You can see it came with the CB radio built in. It's got two reading lights there, which work well. So I had those made, and they were easy to install. I've got the reverse camera there, so of course the rear view mirror doesn't work with this body on, so I put a reverse camera at the back, and that acts as a rear view mirror, which works brilliantly. I upgraded the stereo to a Alpine stereo, so made the interior nice and comfy. I've got a rechargeable 12-volt torch just here. That's connected to a 12-volt outlet behind the seat, which is hooked up to the house battery in the back, so it doesn't drain the crank battery. So got some, got the cabin set out the way that I wanted it. Wired everything up myself. Look, have a go at this stuff. It's not that hard, like wiring up stuff isn't difficult if you just take your time, work your way through it. If you're going to do your own wiring, invest in a good multimeter. They're worth their weight in gold. You need to have one, so go out and buy a good one. I bought an analog one because they're more accurate, and I use it all the time. I do electrical work. You've got to have one of them. But just once you've done a few electrical jobs, it just gets easier the more experience you get at it. I do all my own electrical stuff now. I fitted a CB into my other four-wheel drive yesterday, and so if you come around to this side of the body, you can see we've got an Engel 90 litre upright fridge here. You can see the shelving that I've put in there, so that shelving's all the way around. It's marine ply, varnished marine ply. That's what gives the body its strength. You can see here the whiteboard on the wall. Behind that's the 2 layers of insulation that I spoke about before. So here I've got enough storage for 2 20-litre tubs which hold all of our food. We've got the Engel upright fridge here, which holds all of our food. This is brilliant fridge, keeps it as cold as your home fridge, and because the body's insulated, it never has to work hard. You can see I put a Kenwood stereo up here, a speaker there, and another one over here. We've got a cavity here that we use for all of our towels, so we can roll up our towels and we can fit a dozen towels in that cavity. We've got a drawer here. this is the original drawers that came with the body. I left them in, took everything else out, and these drawers usually hold, we usually put our computers in, our laptops in this bottom drawer while we're travelling, and plug them into there's two 12 volt outlets just there. Plug them into there, and then this one usually holds our cutlery and plates and bowls and what have you. And then up here, there's a hot water unit up here currently, but usually that stores also smaller tubs of food items are stored up there. Now you can see also that I've fitted body armour to this body, because these bodies are pretty thin. You know, they're just sheet metal, and so I put 3mm propeller plate all the way around. And what I done was I went to the hardware store. I bought some thin plywood, MDF board actually, and I use that to trace out the shape. And then I put I cut out the board that I traced over, and I put that on top of the propeller plate. I used a normal jigsaw with metal blades, a bit of WD-40 just sprayed in front of you as you're cutting, and it cut it out perfectly. I think I went through about half a dozen blades to do the whole lot, but overall that was pretty cheap. And then what I've done was I've glued it onto the body, and then you can see I've pot riveted all the way around as well. It's got plenty of pot rivets following the whole outer perimeter, and that gives it quite a bit extra strength. And you can tell that from here. Listen, that's the sound. So this is much more solider than the top. So if any branches are going to hit the body, it's going to hit this plate, and it's well protected. I also put a 240 volt inlet here for the fridge, so the fridge runs off of 12 volt and 240 volt and the car. And it'll choose between 12 volt and 240 volt by itself. You come up here and I've got a shower hatch there, so we would have our shower tent right here where I'm standing. Open up that hatch and pull out the hose and do the shower, and I'll show you the shower in a minute. And I also have a more detailed video that shows the whole shower setup, which I'll put the link to down below, so check that out. Got another 240 volt inlet here, which goes to a power board with about, I think, half a dozen outlets on it. We come around here and you can see the awning that I have. I had this awning custom made, and I had the roof rack custom made, once again because the body is sheet metal and it doesn't really have a frame. All the shelving that I put in it gives the body strength. I didn't want to have a roof rack that had a lot of weight in it, so I had this one. I designed this roof rack and this awning, and I had them made by a guy in New South Wales. We toed and froed on email with measurements and drawings and specifications, and eventually we nailed it. He made it and trucked it down to me, and it fitted up exactly the way we planned. I love this awning because you can see it doesn't need any legs. It's freestanding. All the frame is aluminium, so it's lightweight. I've had this awning in strong winds, and it just holds its ground. It doesn't hardly move. So it's a brilliant awning. And the roof rack, I could have lifted it up there myself. It was that light. Other than the bulk of it, I needed someone to help me just because of the size of it. But in terms of weight, I could have easily done it myself. And up there, that holds the two spare wheels. We've got a 120 watt solar panel up there, and we can also lift the solar panel up, and we put our double dome swag up there. So we use a double dome swag instead of a rooftop tent. Because it's much lighter, a lot less wind resistance, and it takes only a few minutes to set up. And that fits up there and gives us a walkway as well. So that roof rack is 3 meters long and 1700 millimeters wide, with the two access ladders down either side. So if we go to the back of the truck now, you can see I've got a water tank. I've got a water tap here. I've got a water pump there, a 10 litre a minute Whisper King water pump. I've got an industrial hose reel here that goes to this shower head. And so of course I just pull that out, that hatch I showed you previously. We set up our water heater here on the step, plug it into into the gas bottle, turn the hot water unit on, it automatically fires up, turn this switch on, the pump starts up, it drains water from this tank. This is a 200 litre water tank that I had custom made from a guy in Queensland. Once again, I done all the measurements, sent them to him, he made me the tank, fitted perfectly. It's got 3 baffles and it holds 200 litres. That's connected to the pump and that's connected to the tap. And then, you know, to set the shower up, set the hot water unit up and get a shower ready to use takes probably 5-7 minutes. Very quick. So the whole thing's, you know, it's good quality. It's going to last. This is brass plated, chrome plated brass. So it's you're never going to drama with that. And I got that off of eBay for $14. I bought the industrial hot water hose reel from an industrial warehouse. I bought the pump, the Whisper King pump. I bought, you know, on eBay, I believe. Wired it up myself, plumbed it up, no drama. Got all the fittings from me. Got all the fittings from Bunnings. You know, if you're going to wire up your own stuff, make sure you put fuses in line. So if you have any problems, you'll blow the fuse. You won't actually blow the unit. So I always put fuses or solenoids between the power source and the appliance. Here we've got the Red Arc power management system. I looked at all the different types of systems. This was the best one on the market at the time, and I chose it because it's pretty much set and forget. It'll take solar. It draws from solar power. It draws from the car when the car's running, and it draws from 240 volt when you're plugged in. And it'll determine which of those 3 is the best power source, and it'll take from that source and drop the other 2 automatically. And it tells you. You know, it tells you, like you can see, the battery's now 92% charged. I've got 28 days of power remaining. You can see it's charging. It's taking from solar, and it's a brilliant setup. It tells you what each appliance is drawing. I've done a more detailed video on this power management system, so I'll leave the link to that below, and you can check that out. It's just specifically on this. Make sure you turn the captions on when you watch that video, because there's a lot of information there that's in captions. But that comes down to, at the moment it's drawing power from the solar. If I turn the vehicle on, it'll stop taking from the solar panel and just start taking from the car. And if I plugged it into 240 volt, it'd stop taking from anything else and just take 240 volt. Now this cost me $1,000 to buy new. I took it to the auto electrician. He quoted me another $1,000 to fit it. I rang up Red Arc and I spoke to the technical department, and I told them, look, I bought this unit, I want to fit it myself. I'm not prepared to pay $1,000 to an electrician to do it, so I need you guys to give me some guidance, give me some information that I can use to do it myself. They were very helpful. The person I spoke to sent me drawings, and he also sent me a list of connections to buy, what size cable I would need, and you know, the further away from the crank battery you are, the higher gauge cable you need, this red one here. Just keep that in mind. And once I had all the wiring, you know, like really a lot of the wiring that comes with it, but I just needed to get, you know, this main wire here, the black one that goes up to the solar panel. And with the information he gave me, I bought the parts. I followed the instructions. It took me 3.5 hours on a Saturday afternoon to fit it. It's been in here for 6 years. I've been using it a lot and it's never failed me. I've never had a drama with it. So, you know, don't be afraid to have a go at it yourself. Just think yourself through it, you know, buy all the right stuff. And then just have a go at doing it yourself. You know, like I studied the instructions that he sent me for a while, and the fitment instructions that come with the unit, and between the 2 of them, you know, I figured it out in 3.5 hours, and I was done. And you know, just got to remember that all of the appliances are all earth to the chassis, so each one of them's got an earth wire that goes down to the chassis. And so, you know, that's drawing power from the power source and coming down to this house battery. This is a 120 amp hour deep cycle battery. This is a Century. I've only bought it a few months ago. Prior to this, I had one called a Giant. The brand name is Giant. You get it from Aussie Batteries and Solar online, where I bought the solar panel from as well. And I bought all the solar connections from Aussie Batteries and Solar online. Those Giant batteries, that Giant battery was brilliant, lasted me 5 years, never lost power until the day that it just died. But this Century one, I've only had it for about 3 months. I have to charge this thing at least once a week because it loses power even if the car's not being used, where the Giant just held its power. So I'm not at all happy with this Century that I bought from Battery World. I would definitely buy another Giant battery from Aussie Batteries and Solar online. I bought the solar panel from them, I bought all the connections from them. I've got a Giant branded generator, a 2 kVA generator that is Giant branded, but all of the components are Yamaha. And I bought that for half the price of a Yamaha and never had an issue with it. Brilliant generator. So give them a go, because I've had a lot of good experience with them, and I bought quite a bit of stuff from them. So let's check out the solar panel. And you can see the solar panel here. It hinges up. There's 2 hinges there on the side, one just here and one up the other end. And it's got 3 clips along the front face. Undo the clips, lift the solar panel up, put up the double dome swag. We've got plenty of room up here for that, plus a walkway. This solar panel is 6 years old. I bought it from Aussie Batteries and Solar. It was a good quality one, made in Germany. It's still in really good nick. It'll last me easily another 6 years. So I was happy with that. The other thing that I did was, each of these doors have got key locks on them, but I also fitted padlocks to them. And for the back door, I've used a really good quality padlock. All the side doors have got a smaller gauge padlock, but I've fitted padlock locks to each door as well as key locks. And I've travelled everywhere in some of the most remote places, some of the very suspect places, and never had anything pinched and never had anyone attempt to pinch anything. And up here, what I've done is on top of this water tank, I've got a utility drawer, and this utility drawer is as long as the body. It's 1600mm long. It's got 3 sets of wheels. I pull it out all the way here and I hang it off of the roof rack just here by a hook that I made, and it's got all of my tools and the spare parts for the four-wheel drive. So the spare parts that I carry, I've got 2 water pumps, I've got a set of wheel bearings, radiator hoses, fan belts. Yeah, they're the main ones that I carry. Mind you, 6 years of travelling, I've never used any of them, but I'll guarantee you the day I don't carry them, I'm going to need them. You can see the reverse camera up there. So let's walk around to the other side, and I'll just point out something else too, folks, while we're looking at this. I've got your standard, your 2.5, this is a 2.5 ton rated tow bar, and we were travelling up northern Queensland, towing a smaller camper trailer at the time, and I just felt this shudder and then a big bang noise, and I thought, oh my God, what's happened? I thought the trailer had broken away. And so I stopped the car and I came out, and this tow bar, all the bolts that hold the tow bar onto the chassis, all the bolts had sheared off and broke away, and this tow bar had fallen on the ground. Now, I check a lot of things before we go travelling, but I would never think to check the tow bar bolts. That's one thing that just never crossed my mind. But over time and travelling, maybe they just worked themselves loose, and then there was just enough force when I put my foot on the brake to just snap them. But all of them broke, and it just fell straight onto the ground, bent a little bit. And I had to go into town and find an engineer to straighten it, and we put it back on. But yeah, keep that in mind. Like from now on, I'll always check the tow bar bolts before we go on a journey. So we come around to this side, and you can see there's all the propeller plate here. We've got more shelving. You can see all the shelving's made out of marine ply. It's all bolted well to the walls, and then I carpeted it, of course. And then up here I've got an onboard air system. So I bought this unit here. This is a Boss air compressor, and it's connected to this 15-litre air tank. And then I wired them up, and I've got the switch. I've got the switch on the dash, so turn it on. This is brilliant, this thing, and you can mount these in any configuration, upside down like I've got, or on their side, or up the right way. It doesn't bother them. So I think that cost me about $560 for the package. I set it up. Probably took me a couple of hours to set it up and wire it up. and I use it for everything. Like I use it to clean out the radiator, blow up the tyres, run air tools. I've helped many people. Many people I've stopped and helped out with my air compressor. So these are definitely worth it. Those little portal ones you buy in the four-wheel drive shops, I'm not a big fan of them. I wanted the real thing. I wanted it on board, wire it up, so just turn the switch, away it goes. So yeah, definitely get yourself a decent air compressor. I've used this multiple times. You can see also when I fitted the propeller plate, I put a cover over the fuel tank, over the fuel inlet, and I padlocked that as well. So I've got a padlock over that, and then there's of course a lock on the cap. So I've never had any fuel attempted to be stolen. I've got these clips on the doors for the padlocks, plus the doors have got their own key. And so we've got storage here. I usually use this storage section for some tools. This long storage shelf here we use for all of our clothing. This storage shelf down here we use for just whatever. Up here there's a smaller shelf. You can see it's fairly narrow. We just pretty much fill it up with toilet paper and hand towels and tissues. They all go up there. You can see I've got a mirror on the door there that I use when I have a shave. So what I liked about this body was it was very functional. I had access to everything. I had easy access to everything. Everything had a home, and I had all the stuff that I needed. And actually, in terms of all of the stuff that I've fitted to it, there's really nothing that I would change. I really love the functionality of this body. I really love the functionality of the things that I've put on. If I had to change one thing about this entire vehicle, and I know it's an important thing, but it would be the engine. It's a 2.5 litre engine, turbo engine. After this model, they made the next BT Mazda had the 3 litre turbo diesel that you could chip. And in hindsight, now looking back, I probably should have bought that one because that had more power than this one. So this one's, it's limited when its towing capacity is limited. Tow a camper trailer or a camper van, no problem. But I'd have no hope of having the body full and also towing a caravan with it. But having said that, the car's comfortable to drive. I like driving it. I love the setup that we've got. The engine has been reliable. Like I've had what have I done? I had to have the manifold machine once, and when I fitted the radiator at the time, I also changed the head on it back in the beginning. But that's it. I've had no drama with this engine then during our travels. It's done the job that I wanted to do. I look after it. I service it every 5,000 kilometres. I use the best oil and the best filters. And I've just got to operate with inside its capability. Like, if I just wanted to, if I was just a single bloke and I was using this as my camper to go away on travels or weekends, or even if I was just travelling around Australia and I was just using a rooftop tent in a camper, this is ideal. It doesn't guzzle the fuel. It's happy as a pig in shit doing the job by itself, or even towing a smaller trailer behind you, like a little small camper trailer. But if you want to put a lot of weight behind it, they're not happy with that. The engine's not built for that. So that would probably be the one thing that I would change. I've actually thought a few times about ripping that engine out and sticking a 4BT Cummins in it, or even I've even thought about the next model up, BT, put that engine in it. Or a V6 Commodore engine, but then in the end of the day I thought, I'll just stick with what I've got until it don't work no more. And then also what I found is that I was getting a bit frustrated on the road. Sometimes I just wish I had a bit more power, and people pass you, but what you always learn is that a few kilometres up the road I've caught back up to them. So in the end it all evens out, and I think the frustration was all me, and in reality it didn't actually cost me any travelling time. I wouldn't have got where I got considerably quicker had I spent thousands of dollars to change the engine. And we travel, I travel along at about 105, 110. If we're just on our own with the vehicle, if I'm towing, I'll travel at about 90, 95, and I'm happy with that. Like I don't see the need. If I'm travelling and I'm taking my time. It's not a race, and so I've just learnt to live with the motor that I had, and it's worked fine, and it's been very reliable. I mean, I can't fault the vehicle in terms of its reliability to me. It's looked after me, and I've looked after it. So that's my camper. Like I said, I fitted everything myself. I've done one thing at a time, done it properly, moved on to the next thing. So give it a go yourself. Don't be afraid to do something if you're not done. Like I learned a lot of stuff on YouTube, so if you're not sure about something, check out YouTube. You can learn a lot on there. But when it comes to wiring stuff, it's not rocket science. It's just fairly basic stuff, and just take your time and do the job properly. Try and do it as professionally as you can. That's what I wanted to do. I didn't want it to be a dog's breakfast. I wanted to, because at the end of the day, at some point you're going to sell it. You want to get your money back, and people aren't going to buy something that looks like it's been bodged up, So I wanted to do everything properly, it took me time. And here's the other part is, don't get into debt to buy stuff. Like, when I was fitting this out for our journey, I saved up cash and bought the 4-wheel drive, and each thing that I fitted, I saved up cash, bought that thing, fitted it, saved up cash, bought the next thing and fitted it. It took me about a year, but in the end I had a vehicle that was well fit out, and I owned everything, and I was not in debt to anybody for it. And the same with the camper van. We saved up and we paid cash for the camper van, and then we saved up cash and we paid. We took cash with us when we started our journey, and I've got a video on that too, so I'll put the link to that down below. It goes into a bit more detail about how we arrived at the point of wanting to do this, and what we did, and how we did it, and how it impacted us. So I'll put that link below. But yeah, don't get into debt for nothing. Like, save up your cash, be patient, buy something that within inside your price, your price point, when you do your ability to pay cash. Don't get into debt for a vehicle. Don't buy the components in debt with your credit card. Just be patient, save up your dollars, pay cash. Sure that meant I had to cut back on other things, but I'd done that, made that decision, and paid cash for everything, and left on our journey not owing a damn thing to no one. So keep that in mind, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. Check out my other videos on my channel. I'll leave links below to things that are relevant that we've talked about in this. There's my 4-wheel drive. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please give it a thumbs up, and subscribe and share it around, and I'll talk to you next time.